Welcome to the buffer simulation. In this simulation, you'll investigate how adding an acid or a base to a system changes the pH of that system. You'll also study what buffers are and how they affect various systems. Select the practice mode. The screen opens with a beaker of pure water on the tabletop. Note the pH of the water. Select and drag the magnifying glass to the beaker to view what components are in the water. Next, using the dropper, add acid to the beaker on the tabletop. Note the pH and use the magnifier to see what has been added to the beaker. After adding 4 units of acid to the beaker, move the dropper to the waste area and drag the pure water beaker on the shelf to replace the beaker on the tabletop. Complete a similar process to test how adding a base changes the system. Make sure to check the pH and use the magnifier to view the beaker contents. Select the Buffers button at the bottom of the screen to move to the next part of the investigation. In this section, you'll add acid to a buffered system and observe what happens to the system's pH. You'll next add base to the buffered system and observe the changes in the system. Finally, you'll find the dissociation constant for an unknown buffered system. To begin, select and drag buffer number 1 on the shelf to replace the water beaker on the tabletop. Note the pH of the system and use the magnifier to view the beaker's contents. As you did in part 1, use the dropper to add acid to the beaker on the tabletop. Make sure to note the pH and system components in the beaker. Add acid a total of 4 times. Replace the beaker on the tabletop with buffer solution number 1 from the shelf and use a similar process to test the effects of a base on buffer number 1. Next, test the buffer number 2 solution with both acid and base. making sure to replace the buffer number 2 solution with a fresh beaker from the shelf when shifting from testing the acid to testing the base. Lastly, use a similar process to test the unknown buffer solution. After testing, calculate the dissociation constant for the unknown buffered solution.